Welcome to Lost Chapters, where history gets raw, witty, and unfiltered. No boring dates, just the truths textbooks hide. Subscribe for bold stories and uncomfortable history told like never before. You wake up in a classroom and it is not the cozy kind with Pinterest decorations and motivational posters about believing in yourself. No, this one smells like chalk dust, burnt coffee, and the ghost of every teenager who fell asleep during a lecture on the War of 1812. The lights buzz overhead with that faint flicker, like they're plotting to give you a migraine. You look down and realize you're not you. You're a book. Not just any book. You're the history book. The big, clunky brick that weighs more than a newborn and has been dropped on enough toes to qualify as a medieval torture device. At first, it sounds kinda cool. Immortality on the page, your name stamped inside a cover that will be passed from kid to kid for decades. But then you notice the edits. Whole chapters rewritten, some pages missing, words crossed out, softened, sanitized. The blood and guts of reality replaced with something that sounds like a Disney Plus script. Suddenly, you're not a record of truth. You're a battlefield. Because history isn't just what happened. It's what someone wants you to believe happened. Think about it. 1 decade. You were teaching kids that Christopher Columbus discovered America like it was a Black Friday sale at Target. A decade later, you're reminding them that, oh yeah, there were entire civilizations here already, and Columbus didn't discover anything. He just showed up without an invitation and started wrecking the place. Then suddenly, in another state, a committee decides that calling Columbus a colonizer is too harsh, so they swap in words like explorer and pioneer. Your personality changes more often than the Kardashian family tree. And here, as the kicker, you were sitting in the hands of a kid who has no idea how many fights happened before that book hit their desk. Political fights, school board brawls, angry parents demanding more patriotism, while others shout for more honesty. You're basically the product of an ongoing custody battle, ripped between people who want history to inspire and those who want history to expose. It doesn't matter which side wins. You're the one getting bruised. Your spine cracks, your pages yellow, and every time someone calls you boring, it stings a little. Because you know you've got the good stuff inside. Betrayals, revolutions, scandals, wars, and enough drama to make Game of Thrones look like a soap opera. But instead of telling it raw, you've been trimmed down, airbrushed, dressed up in patriotism like a high school mascot costume. You sit there on the desk, heavy, silent, and secretly screaming, because you know history is more than dates and dead guys. It's power. And you're the proof that power doesn't just write history, it edits it. And that's the madness you've just woken up in. Being a history book sounds glamorous at first. You imagine yourself as this mighty artifact, full of wisdom, standing tall on a library shelf like a knight in shining armor. But reality hits different. You're not a knight. You're more like the janitor of human memory, and your job is not only thankless, it's downright humiliating. Your daily life? A mashup of erasure, edits, and indignity. You're hauled around in a kid's backpack, jammed between a leaking juice box and a sweaty gym shirt, pages crumpled, corners bent like origami gone wrong. And if that's not enough, the very thing that gives you purpose, your content, gets rewritten more often than Marvel's multiverse timeline. One moment, you're the solemn keeper of hard truths. You've got the guts to say, yeah, slavery happened. It was brutal, inhumane, and foundational to the economy. The next moment, some committee of adults in badly fitted suits decides that S too negative for impressionable youth. Suddenly, you're reduced to, there were some challenges in early American life. Challenges? Like what? A bad Wi-Fi connection? A Starbucks out of oat milk? No, these were chains, whips, auctions, entire lives destroyed. But nope, can't say that. Gotta keep it polite for the parents at the PTA. It is a lot like being the chef at a 5-star restaurant who is forced to only serve plain white bread. You've got spices, recipes, stories, blood, sweat, and tears. Literal tears, by the way, because history is full of them. But you're not allowed to use them. You're stuck offering kids the driest, most tasteless version of humanity's story. No wonder they fall asleep drooling on your pages. You're not boring by nature. You've been stripped down, bleached, censored into mediocrity. And the editing process? That's the worst part. Imagine a tug-of-war between politicians, lobbyists, and angry parents, each yanking on your pages, deciding which truths are appropriate. One group wants you to shine a patriotic spotlight on the Founding Fathers, making them look like Marvel superheroes. Another group insists on pointing out that these guys owned slaves and weren't exactly paragons of equality. The compromise. You become this Frankenstein's monster of narratives. One paragraph is pure hero worship, the next is awkwardly vague, like someone tried to erase the bloodstains with a Clorox wipe. Meanwhile, you get tested, literally. Kids stare at you not to learn, not to understand, but to memorize enough trivia to pass a standardized test. They're not soaking up the epic human struggle, you're just a flashcard in disguise. You become less about, how did this shape the world, and more about, which year did the Treaty of Paris happen? As if the actual people living through it cared about the year. Spoiler, they didn't. They cared about whether they'd survive winter without starving. So yeah, your job sucks. You're a punching bag, a pawn, a political football. Nobody wants this gig. But here you are, trapped in a cycle of edits and exams, reduced to something you barely recognize. A record of history that can't tell the whole story, a book that's lost its voice. Comment below if you think you'd survive being rewritten every election year, or if you'd just set yourself on fire in the school dumpster. You don't get to exist in this world without dealing with people, and oh boy, what a circus they are. First up, the teachers. These poor souls drag you around with the same energy as someone hauling a bag of bricks up a hill in the rain. They've got coffee breath, under-eye bags darker than the Great Depression, and the look of someone who once had dreams, but now just wants summer vacation to come faster. They try to make you interesting, turning your dry, censored pages into something resembling a story. Some pull it off, spinning tales of revolutions with the flair of a Netflix drama. Others just read straight from you in a monotone that could put a caffeinated squirrel into a coma. Either way, they're stuck with you, and you with them, a reluctant duo in the world's most awkward buddy cop movie. Then there are the students. Oh, the students. Half of them treat you like a medieval relic, flipping your pages with suspicion, as though touching paper might give them smallpox. The other half doodle in your margins like you're their personal sketch pad, Among Us characters, anime eyes, curse words written in bubble letters. Your sacred pages become a bathroom stall of teenage angst. And when exams come around, these same kids suddenly act like you've been hiding secrets from them the whole time. Wait, this was in the book? They cry, as though you didn't scream about it in black ink for 300 pages. But the real fun starts with the parents. You haven't seen rage until you've watched a parent storm into a school board, meeting over a paragraph on systemic racism or climate change. They clutch your chapters like they're holding radioactive waste. One mom in yoga pants and a sequined water bottle will declare, "This is indoctrination." Another dad, polo shirt tucked into his cargo shorts, demands that you stop teaching kids to hate America. Hate America? You literally just said bad things happened. That's not hate. That's called honesty. Yet here they are, red-faced, veins bulging, treating you like you're trying to corrupt their child into becoming a Marxist TikToker. And let's not forget the editors, the shadowy figures pulling the strings behind the curtain. They don't show up in classrooms, but they're the ones who really decide your fate. Think of them like shady movie producers. They sit in boardrooms with fluorescent lighting, sipping lukewarm coffee, debating whether kids are ready to learn about Japanese internment camps, or if maybe it would be less divisive to just cut that whole section out. Their motto seems to be, if it's complicated, skip it. If it's ugly, bury it. If it makes us look bad, rewrite it until it sparkles. You used to be raw, full of guts and grit, but now you're a highlight reel with a patriotic soundtrack. So every day, you deal with this cast of characters: burnt-out teachers, distracted students, furious parents, and invisible editors. You're not a book anymore. You're a hostage. Everyone wants a piece of you. Everyone projects their fears, their pride, their politics onto your pages. And you just sit there, silent, heavy, waiting for the next pair of hands to flip you open and judge what you were allowed to say. When the lights finally click off and the classroom goes dark, that's when the real danger shows up. You'd think history would stay on the page, frozen, harmless, like ink trapped under lamination. But no, history is restless. It doesn't like being erased, rewritten, or smoothed over with patriotic slogans. At night, you feel it stir. Forgotten voices start whispering between your lines. The sound is faint at first, like wind through cracked windows, but then it grows. Chains rattling, marching boots, the screams of people who never made it into the glossy version of your chapters. You hear them all. The erased, the overlooked, the casualties of someone else's edits. It's terrifying because you realize how much was cut out of you. There were entire cultures, entire lives reduced to a single watered-down sentence. Some hardships were faced. That's how the genocide of indigenous people gets described in you. Some hardships, like they missed a bus or had a bad Tinder date. And in the dark, those people come back, furious that their pain has been boiled down to a footnote. They're not ghosts in white sheets with rattling chains. They're heavier. They're the weight pressing on your spine, reminding you that their truth was stolen. The classroom transforms into a battlefield. The shelves creak, the maps roll down by themselves, and the portraits of smiling presidents on the wall suddenly look a lot less heroic. You can almost smell the past, the stench of blood in trenches, the rot of slave ships, the smoke of burning villages. You can cover that up with a pledge of allegiance or a cheerful paragraph about the spirit of exploration. It leaks out. It demands to be heard. And if the voices aren't haunting enough, the lies are worse. The parts added to you, polished until they gleam, are poison. Hero worship so shiny it blinds you. Stories edited to make violence look noble, invasions sound like progress, and inequality read like a minor inconvenience. You've been weaponized. Kids flip through your pages thinking war is just strategy and flags, not hunger and bodies. They imagine history like a video game cutscene, not a reality soaked in pain. That's the real danger after dark. Not the whispers of the forgotten, but the lies that survive and keep spreading in daylight. You sit there in the dark knowing that the scariest monsters don't come from horror movies. They come from selective memory. They come from the way you've been rewritten to serve power. You're not neutral. You're loaded, like a gun disguised as bedtime reading. And every page turned wrong is another bullet fired at truth. So when the classroom creaks and settles into silence, you know it's not really silent. The ghosts are waiting. The lies are waiting. And the kids who pick you up tomorrow, they'll never hear the full story, only the edited one. And that's what keeps you awake, night after night, haunted by the danger that never sleeps. Here's the thing. When the dust settles, when the arguments in school board meetings are over, when the parents go home clutching their Starbucks cups and the teachers finally collapse into bed, you're still there on the desk, heavy, silent, waiting. And that silence matters, because it's not really silence at all. It's a question. Who gets to decide what history is? The ink on your pages doesn't just tell stories about the past. It decides how people think about the present, how they vote, how they treat their neighbors, even how they see themselves in the mirror. You're not just a book, you're a blueprint. That's why the fight over you is so vicious. It is not really about whether kids should memorize dates or whether a certain chapter is too long. It's about identity. If a student grows up only reading about the shiny parts, the victories, the heroes, the speeches, they'll see their country as flawless, almost godlike. They'll march into adulthood thinking patriotism means ignoring cracks in the foundation. But if that same student grows up reading the full story, the ugly betrayals, the stolen lands, the blood on the hands of leaders. They'll learn to question, to doubt, to challenge authority. And people in power hate that more than anything. Doubt is dangerous. Questions are dynamite. It's wild, isn't it? You were supposed to just be paper and ink, but instead you've become a battlefield. Every edit to your sentences, every word swapped for something softer, is a skirmish in a war that's still going on. The past isn't over. It's edited, rebranded, and sold to the next generation like a refurbished iPhone. Parents tell kids to learn history so it doesn't repeat. But the catch is, what if the version of history they learn has already been tampered with? How do you stop a cycle when the story of that cycle has been scrubbed clean? And that's why you still matter. Because even with your torn pages, even with your shiny patriotic rewrites, there are still cracks where the truth bleeds through. A kid doodling in your margins might stumble on a line that makes them wonder, wait, is that really what happened? A teacher who refuses to stick to the script might bring up the stories your pages leave out. Even your censored, sanitized self has ghosts whispering through the ink. You can't erase history completely, you can only muffle it, and muffled voices have a way of coming back louder. So yeah, you matter, because you show the ugly, stubborn reality of human nature. Our obsession with control, our fear of truth, our willingness to trade honesty for comfort. But you also matter because no matter how many times you're rewritten, the truth still scratches at the surface, waiting for someone curious enough to dig it out. The real question isn't whether you're patriotism or propaganda. The real question is, when the story gets handed to you, are you going to swallow it whole, or are you going to peel it apart and see what was left out? So tell me, would you make it out alive, or would you let yourself be edited into someone else's idea of history?